Hello, everybody. Welcome. Well, and as well, have a good weekend. My name is Aurélien Orange, and my colleague Anna-Maria Urbanova will be hosting this match. This is a match of the day 3 of the competition for this Group A between two teams, the University of Western Ontario and Tallinn University of Technology. So now I give the floor to my colleague for the match.
Thank you very much. And once again, welcome. My name is Anna-Maria Urbanova on behalf of CARX Foundation, the organizer of the Hague Inter-University Law Debate Tournament Edition 2023. I'm happy to welcome you to the round 3 debate match between the two universities. The topic was released to the teams at the same time. They had equal amount of preparation. To this moment, they still don't know yet which positions they will have. Just for a reminder and introduction, the debate statement of today's match is that the definition of common heritage of mankind should not apply to seabed resources within the territorial waters of the state. As such, we welcome University of Western Ontario debate team from Canada and Tallinn University of Technology debate team from Estonia. Best luck to both teams. And now a bit of floor for your introduction from Tallinn University of Technology, Ms. Ilkana Alieva.
Hello, I'm Ilkana Alieva. I'm second year law student in Tallinn University, and I'm doing my bachelor's. And I wish luck to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. From Western University, Mr. Spencer Fraser.
Hi, I'm a second year student at law student at Western University, and I'm super excited for this match because it was really an area that I had no knowledge of before getting the topic. So I'm looking forward to today.
Thank you. From Tallinn University of Technology, Ms. Solofelo Letagi.
Hello everyone, I'm Solofelo and I'm a second year student also at THIULDT. And yeah, good luck to all of us. Yeah.
You're welcome. From Western University, Ms. Rebecca Rodriguez.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm a first year student at Western University in law, and I'm really excited to be debating this issue with all of you.
Thank you. From Tallinn University of Technology, Ms. Zara Savimli.
Hello, I'm Zara. Like my friends, I'm a second year law student at THIULDT. Best luck for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. From Western University, Mr. Jack Walsh.
Hi everyone, my name is Jack. I'm a second year law student at Western University, and I'm really glad that we're finally having the chance to debate this topic after a couple weeks, and that we found the time to make that happen this weekend.
Indeed. Thank you very much to both teams. The match has been rescheduled due to technical difficulties earlier. We thank both teams for working with us to find an opportunity to have the match today. My colleague will share his screen shortly to allocate the positions for the statement for the session. Just a short reminder while he prepares the screen. If you see a yellow card, it means you have 30 seconds left. If you see a red card, your time is up, but you can still comfortably conclude your sentences. Best of luck.
Yes, so I will share my screen so you will see the algorithm, the wheel with the positions, like on WebEx at this moment, on YouTube. So on WebEx you can see now my screen where you see two possibilities for each team, for the University of Western Ontario and for Tallinn University of Technology, to be in favor or to be against. So I will click on the center and we'll know which position you will defend for this match. So Tallinn University of Technology will defend the position against. So it means as a consequence, the University of Western Ontario will defend the position in favor and will start the match because it's always the team who is in favor who starts the match. So concretely it means that the University of Western Ontario will defend the position that the definition of common heritage of mankind should not apply to seabed resource within the territorial waters of the state, while Tallinn University of Technology will defend the position that the definition of common heritage of mankind should apply to a seabed resource within the territorial waters of the state. So now you will have 5 minutes to review your notes. So
yes, the screen will be shared shortly. We would also like to welcome one of the 3 judges that will be present for this match. from University of Lagos, the Honorable Judge Isa Adedokun. Welcome to the session. If you want to say some encouraging words for the students before the match starts, and also introduce yourselves, if that's...
Well, thank you, the guest. My name is Isa Adedokun, a lecturer in the Faculty of Law, University of Lagos. And I want to say that I'm glad to be here after a scheduled meeting. I just wish the students best of luck into this presentation. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
For the teams, you now have 5 minutes to finalize your preparations, and then the team from Western University will be starting the match with your 4 minutes of opening statement. Best of luck. Thank you very much. The time for final preparation is now over. We'll be starting with the opening statements. Just a reminder, the debate statement today is that the definition of common heritage of mankind should not apply to seabed resources within the territorial waters of the state. Starting with the position in favor, Western University, you have 4 minutes.
Thank you. Before I begin, can I confirm that I'm audible and visible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Good afternoon to our judges and good evening to my colleagues at Tallinn University of Technology. On behalf of myself and my teammates, Jack Walsh and Spencer Reeser, we are pleased to be here discussing this issue with you. Today, my team and I will be arguing that the definition of a common heritage of mankind should not apply to seabed resources within the territorial waters of the state. We will argue that expanding this definition would upset the current balance of customary international law by putting forward 4 main arguments. I will argue that expanding the definition would complicate the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea and the domestic law of states. Jack will argue that the expansion of the definition is premature as environmental regulations for mining of the deep seabed have not yet been established. Last, Spencer will argue that expanding the definition would infringe on state sovereignty and decrease cooperation of states in the international realm. Before we go into arguments, it is important to understand the current state of the law on seabed resources. Under Article 136 of UNCLOS, the ocean floor beyond the continental shelf, also known as the deep seabed, is defined as common heritage of mankind, meaning that rights in the resources contained in the seabed cannot be claimed by any one state. Territorial waters, on the other hand, extend 12 nautical miles from a state's baseline, and states have total sovereignty over this territory. According to UNCLOS, a state's exclusive economic zone extends 200 nautical miles from their baseline and gives states the right to explore, exploit, conserve, and manage the resources of the sea and seabed. This was affirmed in the International Court of Justice case of Libya and Malta. What we are concerned with is the seabed and subsoil of a state's continental shelf, which also extends 200 nautical miles from their baseline. For the purposes of this debate, the term territorial waters includes all waters and subsoil currently under state jurisdiction. The proposed expansion of the definition of common heritage of mankind would remove state sovereignty and give all states the right to exploit these areas. I will now move on to my first argument, which points to the complications that are likely to arise for UNCLOS if the definition of common heritage of mankind is expanded to include territorial waters. This convention has been recognized as the most significant multilateral instrument of the 20th century for its balancing of different state interests on sovereignty of the sea. If the definition of the common heritage of mankind is expanded, the delicate balance established by UNCLOS will be eroded, as customary international law on jurisdiction of territorial waters would suddenly cease to exist. A resulting risk is that states may be discouraged from entering into further negotiations on the law of the sea if the law is complicated even more through the proposed change and state sovereignty over their territory is taken away. My second argument points to the negative effect that the proposed change will have on domestic law governing territorial waters. Many states have introduced domestic legislation in line with UNCLOS. Canada's Oceans Act explicitly contrasts their territorial waters from the common heritage of mankind of nearby oceans. Australia's Sea and Submerged Lands Act does the same. States incorporate international law into domestic legislation to show their support for international law, and only if they truly believe in its principles. If the definition of common heritage of mankind is expanded, Canada, Australia, and many other states will no longer be in agreement with international law and will be expected to change their domestic legislation, which they are unlikely to do. This is also likely to deter states from incorporating international law into domestic legislation in the future, which runs counter to international law's goal of state compliance. Thus, expanding the definition of common heritage of mankind to include territorial waters will complicate international and domestic law of the sea. Thank you for listening. I will now give the floor to my colleagues from Tallinn University of Technology.
Thank you very much. Tallinn University of Technology, debate team, you now have 4 minutes for your opening statement.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Ilkana Aliyeva, and today I will present our main arguments. We believe that the definition of the common heritage of mankind should apply to seabed resources within the territorial waters of the state, because of the reasons I will talk. First of all, let's look at the UN General Assembly Resolution The General Assembly of the United Nations dutifully declared in Resolution 2749, among other things, that the area of the seabed and ocean floor and its subsoil, as well as its resources, are the common heritage of mankind. Exploration and exploitation of these areas shall be conducted for the benefit of mankind as a whole. Declaration of Principles governing the seabed and the ocean floor and the subsoil thereof, which states that seabed resources are the common heritage of mankind. Also, 1982 of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, which declared that the area and its resources to be the common heritage of mankind, and provided the basis for the establishment of the International Seabed Authority. This convention recognizes the principle of the common heritage of mankind and stipulates that the seabed resources are the common heritage. This includes the deep seabed area, which is managed by the International Seabed Authority on behalf of all nations. According to this, it must be considered that the issues with ocean space are interrelated and must be looked at as a whole. In this convention, a legal order for the seas and oceans that will facilitate international communication promotes the peaceful use of the seas and oceans, the equitable and efficient utilization of the resources, the conservation of the living resources, and the study, protection, and preservation of the marine environment are mentioned as well. The common heritage of mankind principle has been invoked in various international agreements and declarations, including the 1972 Stockholm Declaration on Human Environment, the 1992 Rio Declaration on Environment and Development, and the 2015 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and etc. Our another argument is coastal states should not have exclusive access to seabed resources within their territorial waters, as this would be unfair to landlocked and geographically disadvantaged states who have no access to these resources. The common heritage of mankind principle ensures that all states have an equal right to access and benefit from these resources. We believe that it will develop the principles of justice and equal rights, increase international peace, security, cooperation, and friendly relationships, and advance the economic and social well-being of all people. That's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for your submission. We are now entering the first round of rebuttals. Western University debate team, you have 2 minutes for your first rebuttal.
I'd like to thank my colleague at the University of Technology for her argument. However, the common heritage of mankind for territorial waters does not encourage peaceful interaction between states because states are protective of their territory, which has been there for decades. They will not willing to surrender this easily, even if a framework is in place that allows for the equitable sharing of resources. To move on to our next argument, expanding the definition of the common heritage of mankind to include seabed resources within territorial waters would open the floodgates to states seeking to mine the deep seabeds, which would complicate efforts by states that currently have jurisdiction over territorial waters to balance resource extraction projects with environmental protection of marine life. Coastal states can and do establish environmental regulatory regimes to govern the management of both living and non-living aquatic resources. However, the International Seabed Authority has not yet adopted environmental regulations for mining the deep seabed, which is currently understood as the common heritage of mankind. Without a coherent regulatory framework in place, expanding the CHN definition to territorial waters would collide with the rights of coastal states to manage fish stocks and other living resources within their exclusive economic zones, as established under UN CLOS Articles 61 and 62. These rights are essential to the conservation and sustainable management of a vital source of economic activity for many coastal states. As the extraction of seabed resources may often have an adverse impact on aquatic life, it would be environmentally irresponsible to allow states that do not have a vested interest in the health of marine life to engage in seabed resource extraction. Thank you.
For submission, the debate team of Tallinn University of Technology, you have 2 minutes for your first rebuttal.
Dear judges, and fellow debaters, I argue that seabed resources within territorial water of a state should be considered part of the common heritage of mankind. I will present two key points in support of this argument. Firstly, seabed resources within states' territorial waters are interconnected with the wider marine environment, which is a common resource for all states. Applying the common heritage of mankind principle to these resources would help ensure their protection and conservation. This principle would require coastal states to consider the environmental impact of their use and management of these resources. This is particularly important given increasing threats our oceans, including climate change and overfishing. The common heritage of mankind principle would ensure that these resources are managed sustainable for benefit of all. Secondly, there is a case law that supports this argument. The International Court of Justice has recognized the common heritage of mankind principle in several cases involving resources with a state's territorial waters. For example, in the fishery jurisdiction case, Spain versus Canada in 1998, the court held that the resources of the ocean, including fish stocks, are part of the common heritage of mankind. Therefore, cannot be exploited by single states to determine of interest of other states. This principle should apply equally to seabed resources within states' territorial waters. In conclusion, applying the common heritage of mankind principle to seabed resources within states' territorial waters would help ensure their protection and conservation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your submission. For the second rebuttal, Western University, you have 2 minutes.
Before I begin, can I confirm that I'm audible and visible?
You are.
Thank you very much. I want to thank my colleague for their argument. However, I must respectfully disagree. My friends have argued that if everyone had access to seabed resources and territorial waters, it would be unfair to states that are landlocked and don't have access to them. In this case, it would be also unfair if everyone had access to them because certain countries don't have the power and resources to access them as well. In addition, the case law that my colleague cited that my colleague has stated applies to fish stocks, which is not a seabed resource and is thus not a topic for our debate today. Today, I will argue that expanding the definition of common heritage to territorial waters will infringe on state sovereignty and will not offer sufficient remedies for states whose rights have been infringed. Currently, neither international nor domestic law apply the common heritage of mankind approach to seabed resources in territorial waters. Under Article 56 of the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, states have exclusive sovereignty in seabed subsoil and the right to exploit natural resources under the territorial sea and in their exclusive economic zones. Additionally, Article 77 of UNCLOS gives coastal states sovereignty to explore and exploit natural resources of the continental shelf. Expanding the definition of the common heritage to apply to seabed resources in territorial waters clearly infringes on state sovereignty prescribed by international law. In the South China Sea arbitration case in 2016, the tribunal found that under UNCLOS, China's construction of artificial islands and interference with the Philippines' petroleum exploration activities in their exclusive economic zone violated the Philippines' sovereignty rights under Article 56. In conclusion, the definition of common heritage should not apply to seabed resources within the territorial waters of states, as this allows for states to exercise their sovereignty and offers an avenue to obtain remedies if their sovereignty is infringed. Thank you.
Thank you. For your second rebuttal on debating of Tallinn University of Technology, you have 2 minutes.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Thank you. The opposite team references the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, Article 136, which refers to the area and the resources as common heritage, meaning that the common heritage only applies to international waters. We would like to say we agree with that. We are not against that. And what we are saying is that let's make improvements to it. Let's include seabed resources within territorial seas of the state. And this is because the mining of these resources affects all of sea. the consequences will be felt by all of humanity. Article 30 of the Charter of Economic Rights and Duties of the State says that a state shall actually develop its own environmental policy. However, this comes with the responsibility that that environmental policy should enhance and not adversely affect the present and the future developments of other countries. The impact of seabed mining will not only affect the territorial waters of that specific state. The issue of environmental protection is a collaborative effort, and therefore individual states will not be able to tackle this alone. Right? So we need to work together and make decisions that are going to benefit all of mankind. We already have a crisis regarding sustainability on dry land. So what we are saying here is that let's also try and protect the seas. Thank you.
Thank you. Start entering now the conclusions. The debate team of Western University, you have 2 minutes.
Before I begin, can I confirm that I'm audible and visible?
You are.
Thank you. I want to thank my opponent from Tallinn University for their thoughtful argument. However, I must respectfully disagree. My friends have argued that mining the deep seabed is environmentally precarious at the moment, so why don't we give more states access to this opportunity? However, this already is the case, and we already have an opportunity to protect the environment through common institutions like joint development zones. For example, the joint development zone that exists between Japan and Korea in the South China Sea. Now, if the definition of common heritage is expanded, it will usher in a new era of seabed colonialism in the international community, where the wealthiest and most powerful countries reap the benefits of these economic opportunities, while less developed countries are left behind. Today, our first speaker, Rebecca, has argued that if the definition of common heritage of mankind is applied to territorial waters of state, it is unlikely that states would be able to reach an international agreement to govern this new system. In addition, the definition would directly conflict with domestic law. Our second speaker, Jack, has argued that expanding the definition of common heritage would complicate ongoing resource extraction projects as states rush to exploit these resources that they did not have access to before. And I, as our third speaker, argued that expanding the definition of the common heritage of mankind would violate the foundational international law principle of state sovereignty, which is further enumerated in Article 56 and 77 of the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. On behalf of Western University, Rebecca, Jack, and myself, we wish to thank our opponents from Tallinn University of Technology for their submissions. We humbly ask the judges to agree that the definition of the common heritage of mankind should not apply to seabed resources within the territorial waters of states. Thank you.
Thank you. Debating from Tallinn University of Technology, you have 2 minutes for your conclusion.
Could you please confirm that I'm audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. The idea of the common inheritance of mankind refers to the belief that certain resources and territorial regions of the world would be held in trust for the benefit of all people, rather than being exclusively owned or controlled by individual states. All maritime resources, regardless of location, should be subject to the principle of the common heritage of mankind. The resources found in the oceans are common resources that belongs to all people, and that is the duty of all states to manage those resources sustainably for the benefit of both the present and the future. Health of marine ecosystems are independent, and actions in one region might have an impact on other areas. Hence, it is important to consider how the responsible use and management of seabed resources within a state's territorial seas may affect the larger marine ecosystem and the global commons. The common heritage of mankind principle refers to a framework for states to collaborate on projects as biodiversity preservation and ensuring fair access to resources. The overexploitation and depletion of seabed resources inside the state's territorial waters may result from granting that state exclusive authority over those resources, applying the idea of the common heritage of mankind to seabed resources found within the state's territorial waters would encourage their responsible use and management, guarantee their preservation for the benefit of all people and serve as a foundation for international cooperation and the group efforts to address global issues involving marine resources. Global issues demand global responses, and worldwide effort and coordinated actions are needed to address the global challenge of managing and using seabed resources sustainably. Thank you for listening. That's all our conclusion.
Thank you for your submissions. And this marks now the end of the graded part of today's sessions and of the match. You can now relax. You are no longer evaluated in this part. As per tradition, we'll be doing a short feedback session, starting with the students and then giving the floor for the judge who's present in the live session, should he wish to give a short evaluation to the teams or feedback. Starting with University of Western Ontario, Mr. Jack Walsh. How did you find the topic? And perhaps since this is your final round in the group phase of the competition, did you see any, let's say, difference in approach from your first match and to this one?
Yes, this was a topic that I knew very little about coming into this match, and it was something that it required a little bit more research, I think, than some of the other topics, because I not only had to learn about specific arguments, but a little bit more about what the CHM framework was. I think the approach hasn't really changed since the beginning of since our first debate. I think we all just feel a little bit more comfortable with the public speaking and with making these arguments within a certain time frame and rebutting our opponent's arguments. So that's perhaps is what has been a bit different.
Thank you for your feedback. From Tallinn University of Technology, Ms. Zara Savimli, how did you find the topic, and perhaps did you see any change in how you approach the preparation for the matches from round one to this one?
Thank you for question. Honestly, the topic was not my interest area, so it was hard to make research and being motivated to do that. But end of the day, I learned a lot of things about seabed and their resources, and also I feel like we learn a lot of things from these matches. So thank you.
Thank you for your feedback. From Western University, Ms. Rodriguez, how did you find this round? Did you perhaps already encounter the topic before?
No, I had never encountered the topic before, so I was very intrigued to do research on it, and some of my research expanded past just the subject area because I was so interested in it. So I spent a lot of time just reading things that I hadn't learned about before, knew about before. But yeah, I agree with Jack. I think that our preparation has relatively stayed the same, but our confidence has improved a little bit. And that's always important when you go into a public speaking role. So it's been a great experience, and this was a great debate as well.
Thank you very much. From Tallinn University of Technology, Ms. Solofel-Letage, how did you find the experience? Did you perhaps already have a chance to deal with this subject before?
Not okay. So in our public international law class, we have done the law of the sea, but not necessarily expanded to seabed resources. So in a way, this was quite interesting to learn about this the common heritage, and also in relation to seabed resources and how everything basically around the legalities and all of that are working. So yeah, it was quite interesting, and I'm really happy that I entered this, because at least now I know a little more about the topics that we've been discussing about through the extra research that we've been doing. Yeah.
Thank you very much. On the organizing side, we always hope to bring extra opportunity for the students, and also it's been a pleasure to observe your teams from the day one of the group phase to see how you have been improving throughout the matches. So thank you very much, and well done again to both teams on your preparation, execution of your research. From Western University, Mr. Spencer Beezer, how did you find the topic? Did you perhaps hear the arguments your team prepared from the other side?
Yeah, this wasn't really a topic I had encountered before, and they brought up Tallinn University brought up a lot of strong arguments that I don't think the Western team personally had encountered before. So it was very great to engage with these arguments because I feel like this is such a nuanced topic of the law. So there's many facets to it.
Thank you very much. From Tallinn University of Technology, Ms. Ilkana Alieva, how did you find the topic? And did you perhaps hear some of the arguments you prepared from the other side?
We had some similar arguments, yeah, and I also shared the same feelings with my colleagues. It was a bit difficult to get prepared for this topic because it was kind of first time we had this kind of topic, even so, as Solo said, that we had C law a little bit, but it was still interesting to learn about it, and the debate was so much fun, actually.
Thank you very much. And also inviting one of the three judges present for this match, Professor Isa Adedokun, if he would like to give some closing words or feedback for the two teams. Floor is yours.
Well, I think I already prefer to put my feedback in the judges notes that I'm going to fill online, and just like I did in the previous outing, I was able to at least assess each student based on the presentation. So I'm going to do the same thing here, so as not prejudice any student. But overall, I just want to say that from the comment of students and the presentation, it appears that this is a new terrain, and that since knowledge is continual, I will just urge them to keep hope alive. And that I want to say that the students have really tried their best in articulating and analyzing the topic of common heritage, whether it should be extended to seabed. And I think to me, I don't want to say something that will prejudice the presentation so far, but I just want to say that Jack, I think Jack Walsh. Am I right? Jack Walsh?
Yes, Jack Walsh.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So I want to say that personally, I was very impressed with your presentation, and overall, I hope to see better performance in your subsequent presentations. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the feedback. And of course, the three grading forms for each team will be shared once all the judges submit their forms for the teams. And you will know your results then. Later in April, closer to this second half of April, there will be an intermission event since April is a little bit of break between the two phases of the competition. It will be a merge between a networking event and, let's say, an announcement of the teams that continue into the second phase of the competition. Of course, as per the rules of the competitions and our preparations, whichever stage of the competitions the teams complete, they are more than welcome to participate in all the events that will be happening in the elimination stage. That includes the final week that will be taking place in The Hague. So some of the events will be held in hybrid format, and of course, some of the events will be held in person since we cannot do hybrid visits for some of the organizations. But on the side of organizers, really well done for the preparation throughout the group phase, and it's been a pleasure to see you grow throughout the matches. I'll be passing the floor now to my colleague, who will be concluding the session.
Yes, so many thanks indeed. It was actually interesting to see indeed how you research as well, how you defended the arguments on that topic, which is indeed connected to international law, but law of the sea, a bit of environmental law as well, and natural resource law. So now, yes, as usual, a bit of discussion to see how you are connected between the two countries. I mean, Mr. Jack Walsh, have you met or have you been maybe in Baltic states like Estonia or Lithuania or Latvia?
No, I've never had the opportunity to visit, but I hope to one day.
Okay. Miss Alieva, have you been in North America? Do you have any Canadian friends maybe?
Unfortunately, I haven't been there yet.
Okay, so I hope that I will find someone who have been. So, Miss Rodriguez, do you have any friends maybe in Baltic states?
I don't. Well, I do some of them from Croatia and I think some from Bosnia as well. But I've never been to Estonia, and I've always wanted to go. It's been on my list, so maybe one day, sometime soon.
Okay, thank you. So Croatia is in Balkan, it's in south of Europe. Baltic is in the north of Europe. But yes, I mean, you can have the first. No problem. It's fine. It's fine. And then Miss Sevim Lee, do you have any friends in Canada or from Canada, or have you been in Canada?
Unfortunately, I don't have any friends from Canada, and also I have never been at Canada, but I hope one day.
Okay. And finally, Mr. Spencer Reiser. Anybody maybe has a connection in Baltic states?
Unfortunately, I do not have any connections there, and I haven't visited quite yet, but hopefully I will get the opportunity at some point.
Okay. And Professor in Nigeria, have you been in Canada or have you been in Baltic states maybe?
No, I've not been to Canada. I applied last time, then I was denied the visa. So maybe subsequently, I don't have family, a lot of families in Canada, Winnipeg precisely. And I have to visit there one of these days.
Okay, and yes, I forgot indeed one. Miss Letaje, Emily Letaje, have you been or do you have any connection maybe in Canada?
Yeah, actually, I have a friend that just moved to Canada, but I have not been as yet.
In which?
I would like to.
In which city?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure actually, but yeah, they just moved recently. Like I think about 4 months ago. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all right. So now the two teams know you know of each other. You have had the chance to have the match today, and perhaps you can also reconnect during the session in April. And if you, as per usual, if you want, we are more than happy to facilitate the communication via the official platform that we use for communication of the updates. I believe Western University is one of the universities from last year's edition that actually was one of the first that we were able to connect to other participating teams during the competition. So once more, well done for the match, and looking forward to seeing you in the future.
Yes, many thanks again, and many thanks as well in Nigeria for connecting. Many thanks in Canada, many thanks in Estonia. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.